President Donald Trump announced Monday he was putting the Washington, D.C. Police Department, which Washington, D.C. has 17 police departments. Not police departments, types of police, species, if you will, of police in Washington, D.C. You've got Park Police. You've got the Capitol Police. You've got White House. You've got Secret Service. You've got like all these different levels of law enforcement. DHS is sometimes wandering around involved in other things. Like there was one time where the cops had come to kick out homeless people. And so some of us went to kind of report on it and cover it. And the cops bulldozed a bunch of tents. They ended up nearly killing a guy who was in one of the tents because they thought they'd gotten everyone out of the tents. So they nearly murdered a homeless person bulldozing these tents. But during that, there was a very mean law enforcement person there, meaner than the others, who was DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And kind of like, what does this have to do with DHS, like nearly murdering homeless people? So I don't know if Trump is talking about all 17 departments or if he just means DC police. But anyway, under federal control and deploying National Guard on the streets of the nation's capital, a striking move taken over the objections of local leaders who say Trump is exaggerating the city's crime problems. And the real reason for this, I think most people know, is these are test balloons to see if Trump can have martial law. He's pushing places towards martial law. He did it in Los Angeles by sending the National Guard there. He's doing it in DC. He's now talked about doing it in New York and Chicago. It's a test to see how well martial law works out. Martial law, as you know, is essentially military rule. It's a dictator's toolbox. These are tools that we've given to the U.S. president so that he can move towards dictator. Trump said he declared a public safety emergency, even though crime is the lowest it's been in 30 years, and invoked Section 740 of the District Columbia Home Rule Act, which gives the president the authority to commandeer DC's police department in conditions of an emergency nature. Here's the thing that Trump and previous presidents have realized to some degree is that you can call anything an emergency. You know, the president could be like, I have been farting a lot today. One could call this a national emergency. So I'm going to operate, I'm going to bring in the National Guard and I'm going to take over the police department because I have just been ripping them and this is an emergency. Attorney General Pam Bondi is now in charge of the Metropolitan Police. He did not specify how long the federal takeover of DC police would last. Trump is launching a rare expansion of presidential authority over local government and said he would not stop the nation's capital. In addition to Washington, Trump also mentioned other cities such as New York City, Baltimore, where I live, and Oakland. They're so far gone, he said. This will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C. Yes, even though crime is lower in most of these places than it's been in years. In fact, Baltimore had the fewest murders they've had in a month. Baltimore's notoriously a tough city. It's a poor city. It's had a lot of trouble over the past many years. No one's denying that. This past April or so, one of the recent months was the lowest number of murders they'd had in 30 years. Crime is actually going down. When Trump says he's going to stop crime, it's tough to know whether he means getting rid of people who are sexual predators with justifiable rape accusations against them, and also 1,000 different lawsuits against him, and those type of people who have broken many federal and local laws. It's tough to know whether Trump's going after those people because he'd be first on that list. I mean, one can hope. One can hope he's going to send the DC police after him. I don't know. A move some critics warn may be a prelude to the president declaring martial law, which involves a military rule over a civilian population in times of crisis or emergency. Trump on Monday declared a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C., even though violent crime in the city is at a 30-year low, and said the 800 National Guard members will soon be stationed in the city. The other reason he's doing this is to stop any kind of protests. So he wants protests to stop before they start. So if you are starting a protest in Washington, D.C., he wants to send in the National Guard to make it far more threatening. It's really just a giant threatening. Trump's takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department comes 4 years after the department's officers were violently attacked by Trump supporters on January 6, 2021. And no matter, there's complaints about the way January 6 was covered and some of the real truth behind it, but you can't deny that cops were attacked. More than 140 police officers were injured during the 7 hours that a mob laid siege to the Capitol. So this is the second time he's sent in the National Guard so far, which doesn't really happen. It hasn't happened since the 50s that the National Guard military was sent in to a state without that state requesting National Guard, like in a natural disaster. But yeah, so it seems definitely to be an inching towards martial law, kind of a testing out of how effective it is, how much he can get away with, whether anything stops him, whether the courts stop him. You see an ongoing modus operandi of the Trump administration of seeing what things that are normally people you'd think would create a lot of outrage, might create lawsuits and go through the courts. Trump and his goons do them, and they see what happens. They see what the fallout is. Is there really a large scale fallout, or do the courts actually stop him? And then they see what they can get away with. Also, they set precedents. It's like, once Trump sends National Guard into a couple of states, the first one was California that didn't request it. Okay, now it's a thing. He's sending National Guard in states. People start to become accustomed. We're really good humans, and Americans are really good at just habituating to whatever the new normal is. Like, oh, okay, the president just often sends military into our states without the governor even requesting it. In fact, the governor coming out and saying, don't do this. Okay, that's the norm now. Well, that's a new norm. Isn't that fun?